Hey, loves, remember, you did not create your reality and are at the mercy of it. You are actively creating your reality every single step of the way. And thus, it is constantly just a reflection of our consciousness. And if you can realize this and start to implement it, it's going to make the difference between taking years to manifest or just a few days or even a few hours, because we will no longer be at the mercy of our reality in reaction, thinking that we need to avoid or stop something we created, and we're going to put the power where we really know it is. Because if everything at this moment is just a reflection of our consciousness, you can never actively change or do something to avoid something negative. It's all just a reflection. So basically, it's in the assumption that we are perceiving this thing in our reality as being negative, as the only reason or way it's showing up as negative. And thus, we can change anything instantaneously if we just understand this idea. And when I mean instantly, I mean literally instantaneously. Your 4D or your imagination works automatically right here and right now and does not have any delay. And to further discuss this idea, because I know it might sound a little confusing, here are going to be questions in which we are in this reaction and feel like we have created something and need to solve it. When you ask the question, why did I create this in my reality? Why isn't my specific person texting me? Or why aren't they wanting to be with me? This is not something you've created. I know right now you are perceiving your specific person outside of you as being this individual, but I'm here to tell you that they are absolutely not. They are only acting, and we are perceiving them in this way is because we're giving life to them or to this reality or to this outcome through our attention and consciousness. So again, you did not create it and thus need to fix it. You are constantly feeding it, and you only need to stop feeding it in order to realize that your reality is so much better than you could ever imagine by a lot. Something that you've definitely heard of is to remember that you're always in abundance, meaning you're always in abundance of something, whether it be an abundance of negativity or an abundance of positivity, or in our case, an abundance of being single or loneliness, or an abundance of love. You are just picking and choosing. And so right now, I want you to question those beliefs. The thought that your specific person doesn't want to text you, I want you to question that. The thought that your specific person can't be with you tomorrow, I want you to question that. Your specific person is not someone who doesn't want you. It is just our consciousness in this current moment. And you can realize this with the metaphor of God, or our God state being the tree, and our state of consciousness, or our I am, so that who you are being at this current moment, as the vine, right? A vine cannot exist without the tree. The tree gives life and energy to this vine, and thus it must continually give this energy to it in order for it to survive, because if not, it's going to completely die off. We can think of ourselves as acting as this trunk or this tree that is giving life to certain things around us. And the funny thing is, usually when we think, okay, but how do I pull myself out of this thinking? Remember, it takes less energy to not think about it than to think about it. It takes less energy for the tree to stop giving life to one of its vines or branches than to continuously feed it. If it is continuously feeding it and wondering why it is still alive and is still available and is still growing, then it's not in awareness that it is actually in control of that. So right now, I want you to think about what assumptions you actually have placed on your reality. What assumptions are on your specific person? How do you think that they're going to show up? That is what your current state of consciousness is. And it's not your reality. Well, it's perceivably your reality, but that's not the truth and the only possibility. By continuously making these assumptions on our specific person and thinking that they are this way, but they need to change, we are in a paradox and thus never going to see a difference in our reality. And I think this is actually why many people feel as if they perceive a lot of time in manifestation. Again, your specific person is not someone who is bad or wrong or doesn't want to talk to you and needs changing. They are actively wanting to show up in your reality in the way that you desire, in the way you want, in whatever way would make you happy, make you abundant, make you positive. This is a sure factor in your reality. And the only reason we're not seeing it is because we're actively trying to give life to this vine that we don't want. Think of it in the way of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you're assuming you're a specific person to act in any sort of way, you're basically altering your bridge of events in your divine guidance to support that outcome. Remember, divine guidance can technically be negative. Divine guidance is just something trying to support your current state. So when you are in a state that is negative, you are thus finding, acting, believing, and assuming everything to be in alignment with that thought. But the same is with the positive, and you do not have to wait in order to switch this. Again, it's our energy. What are we paying attention to? What are we feeding at this current moment in time? And truly, I would say your reality is constantly and always something positive. Inherently, you are someone who is loving, abundant, and positive at your core. So everything must come from you. So inherently, that's what everything is. Everything is loving, abundant, and positive. Now, again, whether we are going to see that depends on our state of consciousness, but that's not going to alter the fact that things are trying to show up in your reality as something very positive. Because honestly, why would we ever give a state of consciousness or awareness to something that we dislike? I know it seems like our reality is happening to us, or our 3D reality is away and we need to change it, but that's not the case. We just need to alter this perception, alter the state of consciousness, alter where we are focusing our energy, and we're going to see a total difference in everything. And as always, I'm going to give you a perfect example of this. So here's someone who sent me a message on WhatsApp that we were working together, and they've actually manifested since this time so much more, and I want to include another one of their successes in a different video, but here's what they wrote. He called me by FaceTime, just like I affirmed and scripted just now. So this is the state, and we talked about the same idea in our coaching because we were meeting up weekly. This individual, all we had to do was switch the way that we were perceiving our specific person and basically where we're giving our attention to in our vine, and she saw a total change in her reality, like completely. And again, I want to include a different kind of success in another video because it's so awesome. Little hint, they are basically back together, married. It's perfect. But anyway, this is the switch that they saw. And before this point, before we met, they were under the same exact assumption. Their 3D is a certain way and we need to switch it. We need to alter it. It needs to be different. But really, that's not the case. And as soon as we began to realize, okay, my reality is much more positive, much more efficient, much more abundant, just better than ever. I just need to find it. That's the state of consciousness. That's the vine that creates the outcome that we want. So I would question yourself right now. If you are thinking and assuming something negative, why is that? Okay, you've seen it in your reality. Could this be reframed to something else? Was it actually the way you thought it to be? Because every single assumption and belief and state of consciousness does need some sort of reference, meaning some sort of proof that it's occurring. And thus, you need to question those references. What makes you feel as if this is true? And I will tell you, everything goes back to our imagination. Every conscious state or how you perceive any assumption on your specific person, if you feel they're late, they don't want to talk to you, they don't want to go on a date with you, all of these are based on references that happen in our reality, but all are coming from our assumption or our imagination, meaning what are you imagining your specific person to be doing right here and right now? And if you know you are no longer giving any energy, any attention, any state of consciousness to this vine that shows up in your reality as your specific person not being exactly who you want, if you know you're going to take all that energy and switch it to the reality of you being in the perfect relationship with your specific person, leave a thumbs up on this video. If you did have any questions on this or cool successes or anything, leave them in the comment section below. And remember, if you didn't want to comment something publicly, you wanted to send it to me personally, head over to kyleaugustcoaching.com. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I'm so excited to hear about how you implement this and how you receive the same exact results as the success story in this session. So make sure to keep me updated. But again, thank you so much for stopping by today, and I'll see you in my next video tomorrow.